intro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. Contemporary dance is a form of storytelling using the body. Oftentimes, the story is told on stages through contemporary dance without words being used. As one of Metro Detroit's premier dance companies, Eisenhower Dance Detroit provides local choreographers and directors opportunities to showcase their work. It also gives dancers a space to work and develop their craft in an industry that is extremely competitive. The dance company is now working with world-renowned dance choreographer Maxine Doyle. Doyle is best known as a co-director and choreographer of Sleep No More, the groundbreaking immersive production that redefined site-specific performance in New York and London. Doyle has showcased across the globe in countries like England, Germany, Switzerland, and now the U.S. in Detroit. Her new work, commissioned for Eisenhower Dance Detroit, I Am Not Myself, will debut at Detroit Institute of Arts in April of 2026. Joining me now to talk more about it are Maxine Doyle and the artistic director of Eisenhower Dance Detroit, Stephanie Pizzo. Thank you both for joining me this morning.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Hi,
you
Tia.
as well. Hi,
nice to
Stephanie.
meet you.
Nice to meet you. So, Stephanie, we're going to begin with you. Briefly, talk about Eisenhower Dance Detroit and what makes this dance company unique.
Sure. Eisenhower Dance Detroit is a contemporary dance company. We're celebrating 35 years this year, so we're really proud to be a contemporary dance company serving our community for so many years. We stage works by national and international choreographers and perform around the Metro Detroit area. I think our mission is to serve as a cultural ambassador for our area. We tour nationally and internationally, collaborating with creatives all throughout Metro Detroit.
And Stephanie, you all had the pleasure of commissioning world-renowned choreographer Maxine Doyle. How did this connection happen?
You know, it's kind of a funny story that you try to capitalize on things. I've always been a fan of Maxine and Sleep No More. And I did hear that about 2 years ago, they had announced in New York City that the program was going to be closing. And so I thought this is a great opportunity for our organization in celebrating 35 years to bring in someone of Maxine's caliber to bring a work right here to Metro Detroit.
Yes, and Maxine, bringing you into the conversation, if you can, describe I Am Not Myself. What can audiences expect from the performance, especially when we think about scale and production?
I Am Not Myself is a work for the stage. It's not a story in a linear way, but it has narratives and sort of themes. It's very much about like the many voices that we have happening inside our head at once, the different aspects of our personality. So it's a really physical work. It's got a really interesting set design by Mike Pizzo and original sound score written by Australian composer Richard Deese, which is really really dramatic and visceral. The dancers are fantastic. I've had a great time working with them. So I'm really happy with the work, and I think the audiences are in for a treat.
And Maxine, that was going to be my question. Why Eisenhower Dance Detroit company? Why Detroit?
Oh my goodness, why Detroit? Why not Detroit? I mean, you know, I've been a fan of like Detroit sort of techno, and I've lots of sort of friends in London that sort of, you know, my generation DJs who are so influenced by the kind of music scene. I hadn't been to Detroit before, and I thought, what an amazing opportunity to get to know the city a little bit. I've only really scratched the surface, but I love the energy, the vibe, the fashion, the people that I'd met. So it was a really nice opportunity to work with these great dancers and spend some time in Detroit.
And, you know, some of the work that you're able to do, what inspired work about our inner conflicts?
Oh my gosh, my daily life. But often, you know, I mean, I'm very interested in what it means to be a human being, and you know, especially now in the times we're living in, you know, we're so challenged, and I feel like there's a real absence of empathy in the world that we're living in. And I, kind of want to, dance really brings people together. It really connects us with what makes us all human as people. So that's kind of my main drive. I mean, I also am very influenced by like art and films, poetry, writing. And actually this particular piece is inspired by an artist called Ren, who I think the Detroiters would love. He's from the north of England. He's he's a musician, but his work is very lyrical. It's very rap influenced, great kind of melodies. His song doesn't exist in this work as is, but we took inspiration from his storytelling.
And does dancing help you move through those conflicts and feelings you're talking about? What is it about physical movement that helps people get through some of their tougher times?
Yeah, I think we can get so stuck in our heads, and we're physical creatures first and foremost. And I think when we connect with our body, we love dancing. Most people love dancing, actually. Some cultures really support it from birth. Often cultures kind of suppress it. But I think, when we come together, the power of the dance floor, the power of the DJ, there's a sort of sense of community that I think makes us feel alive when we're dancing.
And for you, Maxine, being a choreographer, and being a creative person yourself, talking about some of your other pursuits, why dance as a way to express some of those creative outlets that you're talking about?
I think for me, I sort of started dancing when I was 12, and I just fell in love with the feeling of moving and what that sort of did. I mean, a lot of my work comes from improvisation, which is much freer. You're not restricted to sort of having to be technically specific in a way. So I really sort of enjoyed that. And I think, the body just says so much more than words can say. Often language limits us. We all cry, we all laugh, we all feel. And I think that's what I tap into when I'm both making work and when I'm moving.
And Stephanie, bringing you in, similar question, just talking about dance and the power that it has to heal. For you, how have you used dance to heal any type of inner conflict or conflicts for others?
Sure. I think the beauty about contemporary dance is that it's very natural. As Maxine mentioned, the technique and the movement can be based on everyday movement. So I do feel that people can relate to some of the gestures that we're making. And it's very beautiful with the technical aspects behind it within the technique. But we use dance, I think a lot of the contemporary dancers that are in professional companies are drawn to the healing process or some sort of emotional connection. Contemporary dance is very raw. It has a lot of emotion. And we hope as performers that we're communicating that to our audiences. I mean, that's our goal. We want it to be accessible in the sense that we're feeling the same things, as we perform and as the audience views it. But we also want our community to feel that it's something that they can do as well, and our education arm also helps support that, so that through movement, there is a healing process. And if you want to participate in contemporary dance, anyone can do it. And to have that opportunity to explore the sense of movement, moving your body and how your body chemistry changes when your heart rate gets up, and how your body responds to that sense of healing.
And Stephanie, when you've been in different levels within Eisenhower Dance Detroit, now you're the artistic creative director, and throughout all of your the climbing that you've done within the organization, do you hear about the emotional connection from audiences here in Detroit?
Sure. I think when I stepped into leadership after being with the organization for 26 years and stepping in, it took me a minute to find my voice in what really connected to me. And to be quite honest with you, when I realized the impact that our company and dance had on the community and how we could make a difference and use our performances as a platform, I really did feel like that was my voice. And that is really what I think about when I'm choosing choreographers, when I'm curating repertory, when I'm hiring dancers. They all need to have that alignment that we can make a difference with dance and use it as a platform to help others, and that is really important to me.
We're talking about local dance company Eisenhower Dance Detroit and new work commissioned by renowned choreographer Maxine Doyle. Our guests are Maxine Doyle, an artistic director of Eisenhower Dance Detroit. I want to say Stephanie Pizzo, excuse me, but Stephanie, bringing you back just into this and continuing on what you just talked about a little bit, I want to talk about dance being an equalizer or something that can be in place or show equity or equality throughout our world and a common ground for most people. I'm going to ask you the same question, Maxine, but starting with you, Stephanie. Let's talk about it being that great equalizer for a lot of situations.
There's no age limit. There's no demographic that can't be a part of what we're doing, and I think that's the beauty of it. You know, we're training and working with people from infants all the way up to seniors, you know, in any walk of life, from, you know, doing community outreach to, you know, doing free performances at senior homes, you know, just to give them an opportunity to experience. So we really do our best to try to, you know, make it as equitable for everyone, including the dancers that we hire.
And Maxine, the same, you know, as a choreographer, when you're putting together or commissioning works, how are you trying to make this something that's digestible for all people?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like, I think as a choreographer, as a maker, like, you have to be true to your own voice. So I think, you know, I've always had the audience in my mind when I've been making work, but doesn't necessarily mean I'm trying to create something that's gonna be interesting to everybody, because that just isn't how it works with art or music, is it, or anything. But I do think about the audience in the work, like what they see, what I'm trying to say. I mean, I feel like my work is poetic, so there's not necessarily one meaning. I hope there's many meanings. I hope that the audience aren't going to be bored. As a choreographer, I really love cross sort of generational performance. So I've worked with young dancers just coming out of college, to mature dancers in their 50s, 60s, and early 70s, and I love that about dancing. You know, I think sometimes we think dance is just for youngsters. You know, it's got to be athletic. Yes, it can be athletic, but it can be so many more things. So I enjoy that aspect of the work as well.
Yeah, and Maxine, you've showcased across the world. Of course, we talked about that for the Perth Festival in 2019. You created award-winning site-specific work, Sunset, for the Australian Dance Award. And in 2022, you premiered the large-scale stage and installation work here, Not Here, in collaboration with two Swedish artists. Describe the large-scale productions you're conducting for folks who especially may not understand what a large-scale production for dance could be.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've worked a lot with a company called Punch Drunk, and our show Sleep No More, which is the one that was in New York for a long time. So that's the largest scale production, and that ran over 6 floors of the McKittrick Hotel, which was actually an old nightclub on West 27th and 10th. There were over 90 rooms, and the rooms were sort of filled with installation, and then we told the story of Macbeth and other sort of noir stories. And also that meant that there was like dancing happening in a storytelling format. So characters, relationships, narrative happening all at the same time over many floors. That's the largest scale of work. And it's site work because it's not in a theatre. And then actually the project that I did in Perth, for example, Sunset, that was a wonderful project actually, which kind of brought to life an old hospital that had been asleep, that had been empty for about 20 years. And that was site specific, more in the more authentic sense, and that we sort of researched the history of that space, and we told a fiction, we made up a fiction, but we kind of tried to bring the characters of that space together, and that involved the audience sort of promenading through the sites of the hospital, through the kitchens, through the old ballroom, through the grounds, and then it kind of finished standing on the river, the Swan River in Brisbane. So I think large-scale site works, they tend to be about journeys for audiences, physical journeys and big experiences, and take on architecture, light, sound, and movement.
And hearing you say that and thinking about all of the space that we have in Detroit and different areas that we could have something so beautiful like that happening in a site-specific place, and the history and the storytelling that can go along with something like that is absolutely amazing to think about, especially in connection with Detroit and how you would do that. So, Maxine, we're going to stick with you just for a little bit longer, but just talking about how you've been able to find those intersections in that way. I mean, you're using these sites, you're doing this research, but then you're also making the story and the dance and all of it kind of meld together in this one space and place and time. How are you finding these once again, these intersections to make these stories come to life through dance?
Yeah, I mean, the site works. I mean, they often take a long time to actually happen. So a Punch Drunk show could take anywhere between sort of 5 and 10 years to actually come into fruition. And that's the process of finding a space, and then fundraising to be able to kind of do, transform those spaces. The others, the independent projects I've done, like in Perth and Australia, they've been commissions where an organisation has had a space available and wanted to sort of bring life to it. But again, they take a few years. I think there's and there's spaces. I mean, for Perth, for example, I was in and out of Perth for maybe 4 years, kind of getting to know the community and the story, and it takes a while just to sort of build those kind of networks. And the space tends to come first, though. It's like, what's the space? And as Stephanie will tell you on our journeys around Detroit in the car, I mean, there's just so many wonderful buildings. We had the pleasure of doing a guest artist talk at Michigan Central Station.
Yeah.
My goodness, what an amazing site. I mean, what an amazing site that must have been also in the 90s when it was empty. I'm sure there was some great stuff there. But Detroit seems to have some great spaces that I'm sure would love some art inside of them.
Yes. And before we let you both go, because we've been talking for a little while, Stephanie, I just want to talk about, because the commissioned work that we're talking about right now is actually going to premiere at Detroit Institute of Arts in April. So I Am Not Myself. Just talk about what people can expect, especially once again, as we head into our next year.
Sure. So the title of the performance is Beyond. It's a little bit reflective of our season. We had 3 concerts this season, Once, Here, and Beyond wanting to showcase the work that we want to continue to do for our community. And it will premiere Maxine's work on April 9th and 10th at the Detroit Film Theater. People can get tickets on our website, eisenhowerdance.org. And I hope that this is the beginning of many more projects, hopefully with Maxine. And Maxine's been here for 6 weeks. Clearly, we'd love to have her for a few more years. But we were hoping, we're really excited that Eisenhower is the only company in year 2026 that will have a Maxine Doyle work in the entire country. So we're hoping that people will get excited and want to come out and see it, and then continue to watch the company's journey beyond.
And Stephanie, really quickly, one more time, give me the correct title of the show that we're going to see in April.
The show is titled Beyond.
Thank you.
And it will premiere Maxine Doyle's work, I Am Not Myself.
Maxine Doyle is a world-renowned choreographer, and Stephanie Pizzo is artistic director of Eisenhower Dance Detroit. Looking forward to seeing the upcoming performance airing in April. And thank you both so much for joining us on the Metro. I know that Stephanie, we will chat very, very soon. And Maxine, have a great 2026.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tia. Bye.
Coming up, as we just heard, dance is a way of expression and can be interpreted in numerous ways. We'll continue to learn about how the physical art form can stand for justice and equality. You all stay right there. We'll be right back. This is The Metro.